nation. Also, Togo's parliamentary elections pass off relatively peacefully, and Mali's year of turbulence has shaken up both buyers and small businesses. First, protests broke out in central Tunis today, the 56th anniversary of the Republic, after a leading critic of the ruling Islamist Ennahda party was riddled by a hail of bullets outside of his home in the capital this morning. Member of Parliament Mohamed Brahmi was the second Tunisian opposition politician to be assassinated this year after Chokri Belaid's death back in February. Brahmi's family is amongst those pointing the finger of blame at Ennahda, something it strongly denies. His death has prompted calls for a general strike on Friday, and thousands have also taken to the streets in his hometown of Sidi Bouzid. Nicolas Chemin tells us more.
The two men on this picture have now been assassinated. Mohamed Brahmi on the left was shot dead this Thursday. Chokri Belaid suffered the same fate in February. The two members of the Tunisian opposition were both left-wing and both highly critical of Ennahda, the ruling Islamist party. Brahmi's family accused Ennahda, led by Rached Ghannouchi, of being responsible for his murder. The Islamists strongly rejected the accusation. Mohamed Brahmi was born in Sidi Bouzid. That's where Mohamed Bouazizi set himself alight in December 2010. It's often considered as the starting point of the Tunisian revolution, which in turn inspired the other revolts of the Arab Spring. Under the regime of strongman Ben Ali, Brahmi was arrested twice. He created a clandestine movement called the Union of Nasserists. After the fall of Ben Ali, he launched his own political party. Mohamed Brahmi was 58 and had 5 children. The president of the National Constituent Assembly declared Friday a day of national mourning.
Well, Mabrouka Mubarak is a member of the Constituent Assembly and President Marzouki's Congress for the Republic Party. She joins us now from Tunis. Mabrouka, apparently we had some technical problems. No. Luckily, we have been joined by Mabrouka Mubarak, as I was saying, a member of the Constituent Assembly and President Marzouki's Congress for the Republic Party. Mabrouka, thanks for speaking to us. Now, it looks like Tunisia is a pretty dangerous place to be an outspoken secular politician.
Seeing it from outside, you could say that because it's the second assassination. However, the whole process of the transition has been going on now for a year and a half and has been going smoothly. And the particularity of Tunisia is that we've always try to seek for consensus. And this is very particular, and that takes a lot of time. And the government is composed of 3 parties, so we really have a different situation with, multi-partyism and consensus building that takes time. Now, these 2 assassinations, the one of Chokri Belaid on February 6th, and the one today of Assembly member Mohamed Brahmi are very similar. And the goal is really to abort the transition.
Now, the government's actually been in the past accused of not doing very much to rein in radical elements. Do you think it bears any responsibility in Brahmi's death?
A transition is very difficult. There's a lot of, the security issue, it is, in every country is the same, and the government definitely has to do more effort in it. But what we have to really point out for Tunisia is that we almost done. We are in the finishing line of the transition. We just created a consensus committee for the constitution, and we are about to adopt it. And this morning, the 3 presidents did a speech for the celebration of the Republic, because it's today, and they, confirmed that the transition is almost over, and then we'll have a transition, a constitution in September. So this is, we have to point that out. We're really at the finishing line, and this is happening at a time where it is obvious and clear the objectives is very similar, is to disturb the transition. it is to abort this whole transition. And it's a shame because Tunisia is really like, it went through very difficult time. We have, of course, problems. We had a couple of problems of violence, etc. And, we are still seeking ourselves as a society how we can, live together and that's why we're building this consensus-based constitution. And this is a chaotic road. It's chaotic, but it's necessary chaotic. I mean, this is the only way you can adjust the road.
Mabruka Mubarak, thank you so much for joining us. Unfortunately, we are running out of time, but that's Mabruka Mubarak joining us from Tunis on the assassination today of Mohamed Brahmi. Okay, now, after months of delays, Togo's finally held its parliamentary elections. Today's polls are an important step in the country's transition to democracy since the military installed Faure Gnassingbé as president in 2005. Up till then, his father had ruled since 1967, following one of Africa's first coups. The opposition hopes today's vote will loosen the Gnassingbé family's influence ahead of the 2015 presidential election. Voting seems to have gone relatively peacefully, although small protests did break out in Lomé after authorities shut down a radio station that was reportedly for accusing the ruling UNIR party of cheating. Well, our correspondent was there for us in Lomé. Silvio Combe speaks to us now. Silvio, what exactly happened to force the government to take Legend FM off the airways?
Okay, this morning it started by 7 a.m. When a radio station, a private local radio station called Legend FM, was having a talk show to discuss the problems during the process. And then it was ongoing when, 4 hours later on, there were some policemen who came around to seize their equipment and told them to leave the radio stations. And later on, when they were telling the journalists to leave the station, it was heard. And then the young men came around for demonstrations. They occupied the main road. They blocked everything, and they didn't want any vehicle to pass. And it was there for some hours before the Bishop Bariga, who is the president of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, came around, and he did a kind of mediation for the radio to restart working. So actually the radio station is working, but they are just playing music, and they are told not to have the same show that they were having in the morning.
But otherwise, the vote seems to have gone off pretty peacefully.
Yeah, the vote went on peacefully, but we've noticed some problems because the polling stations, some opened very late. They were supposed to open by 7 a.m., but some opened at 9, 10, even 12. And according to the Electoral Commission, those that opened after 9, they have to continue. They've continued till 8 p.m. tonight. They were supposed to close by 4, but then because they didn't start on time, they've continued after 8. And in some various parts of the country, there were some allegations of fraud. The opposition have been saying that there are some fraud that have been committed, and we can just say that they are allegations because there's no proof for now. And even I can also notice that many people could not see their names on the list. So those are some problems that we've noticed today during the process.
Well, thanks very much. Silvio Combe there in Lomé for us as the Togolese go to the polls for parliamentary elections. Okay, in South Africa, a man due in court on Thursday to face over 120 charges of rape, robbery and kidnapping was found hanged in his cell in Johannesburg this morning. 42-year-old Sifiso Makhubu was accused of raping 34 children and 2 adults and infecting them with HIV. His youngest alleged victim was 10 years old. Now, a special UN Security Council meeting was held Thursday focusing on the Great Lakes region in which millions of people have died in conflict over the last 20 years. The US Secretary of State called for an end to foreign backing for rebels currently battling the army in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. Nick Harper is in New York. He joins us now. Nick, no names have been named, but the message was aimed at Rwanda.
Well, that's it. It's very interesting that the Secretary of State, John Kerry, didn't mention Rwanda by name, but he did say that he was deeply concerned that there were groups out there that were helping to support the M23 movement and other militia movements within the eastern part of the Democratic Republic of Congo. A couple of days ago, the State Department did mention Rwanda and did talk about the fact that there seemed to be evidence that parties within Rwanda were giving direct support to these rebel movements in the DRC. So while the Secretary of State didn't mention them by name today, it was very clear to him, to everyone into the room, that that's exactly who he was talking about. He said he was deeply concerned about that support that was being given, and that was something that had to end, and end immediately.
Now, the Security Council also agreed to back the regional peace accord that was signed back in March.
That's right, yes. They spent several hours discussing the Great Lakes region, talking about the situation in the DRC that's seen about 3.5 million people die over the last 15 years and some 5 million people displaced around the country. One thing that they have also recently implemented is sending out 3,000 extra troops to add to the 17,000 peacekeepers that they already have in the country. And these 3,000 troops made up from soldiers from they are part of what is being called the Intervention Brigade. And this is a special task force that's been given an almost unprecedented mandate of being able to use lethal force. Those are the words the UN use, lethal force to take on and neutralize these rebel groups in the DRC. So the United Nations have had peacekeepers in the country for more than 10 years. It seems that they are somewhat fed up with the situation there, the ongoing conflict, and the fact that so many innocent civilians are being killed. So those 3,000 have been sent in to try and sort out the problem. The worry is, especially from aid agencies working in the country, that although that might be the long-term aim of the United Nations, the short-term result will be that more people will die, it will exacerbate the problems, and aid agencies may even get targeted as a result of that special United Nations Intervention Brigade.
Thanks very much. Nick Harper there for us in New York. That pretty much wraps up African news for now, but I will be back tomorrow with more.
Georgia, thank you very much indeed. Time for us to take a short break. After that, we return with all the world news, plus sport and our special focus feature. Stay with us for that.